You are a denizen of and a product of this world. A citizen, we might say. We hope a citizen, good citizen, a denizen, an inhabitor of this world. In other times, and more ancient than ancient, or it could be at this very moment. I don't want to get you going on this. Let's just say in previous times, that you were a denizen and a product of other places, other cultures, other needs being met. That when I first came to California, I saw a movie. We used to have good movie nights, didn't we, in California? Huh? Mm-hmm. Groundhog Day was one of our important movies. I believe it might work in the same way in the human realm. We just keep going around and around, improving here and improving there, having an opportunity, getting new ideas, wondering where they came from. There was a Star Trek, where they got caught in a time loop. You're Trekkies, I know. Oh, please be Trekkies. Yes. It's so nice, so healthy for you. They got caught in a time loop, and they had, finally they were able to send a message to themselves. Sort of like, you're caught in a time loop, please do this. We figured it out, this much we figured out. So please do this and see if it works. Weird. I mean, it gave me a very funny feeling, but it also bears upon this discussion where we have forgotten. But we've also, and we give ourselves messages such as, what? Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta vows, our message from previous. As well as our emerging karma. It's like messages, our virtuous karma. They're like a message from previous lives. Suddenly these wonderful things just seem to happen by themselves. These are messages to ourselves, caught in a time loop. In previous world systems. I'm going to say things that don't exist anymore, or don't exist for you anymore because you have evolved, transformed, and are no longer subject to those rules or to those issues. You had closure. And so yes. And so at that time, the compassion practices were available to you. I was saying this morning that the vastness of the compassion practices, things that you would never be exposed to in this life. And so those compassion practices are still valid compassion practices. Not ones that you're going to find in any sadhana. But sometimes if we just expand our parameters, we're not trying to think about previous lives, but just sometimes it's nice to just sort of stretch out our idea of where we came from in our existence in order to get a better balance about the small, tiny little fragment of our existence that we are experiencing in this world, in this place. This is very helpful if our mind becomes overwhelmed. That we reasonably can assume, let's say, for example, that we're having mental stress or mental difficulty right now. That we might even think, oh yes, definitely I'm having mental difficulty right now. But this is such a small part, this is such a tiny part of my experiences. that I'm actually able to sort of choose. I can actually sort of pick and choose whether I want to be as involved in my issues right now that are happening right now, or would I like to just sort of place them into this larger context and be able to get just a little bit more distance. This is very helpful. Sometimes we inadvertently mix our energy in thought processes that are going more internal, that we actually has nothing to do with us. Maybe on some deep, deep level that you're actually still the product of those compassion practices of such a long, long time ago. What is the name of that practice? Unknown in our world. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Perhaps there are that you have accomplished, that you've actually accomplished, or are a practitioner of a compassion practice which no longer exists in this world. And this does not depend upon, like going out and finding an Egyptian costume or something. Or pretending like you're in Atlantis. This isn't Wisconsin, this is Atlantis, no. Don't solidify on this idea. I'm just giving it to you gently. Let's just take a minute and close our eyes and just relax back into, not to previous times, but just relax into our good qualities that are part of a vast and unknown. We don't have to explore it. We've already done it. We've been there. You've done these things. Just relax into that. Sink into your heart center. Sink into your heart center. It's not in your head. So, when you read in Tibetan Buddhist books or commentary, when they talk about original nature, that who you are in your historical past, is your own nature. When we there are different levels of your original nature, but this is extremely important to gain relaxation of the mind, and to really rest your mind in your nature, in your original nature, I'm going to say. Let's just continue for another minute. Just rest your mind. Just let your mind just sink back into that. If you need to take a deep breath, okay, we could go on for some time. This is a very pleasant contemplation without words, just resting the mind. When we did our retreat on silence and quieting the mind, this is a very important aspect of it. I don't think we covered at that time, but I hope that you practice this. It's not the exclusive thing, but it helps you stabilize your mind, makes you feel more calm and more able to go on. Why? Because you're not done yet, all right? You're very lightly toasted only, like that.